5 years ago, I was still pretty naive. I wouldn't have made the same decisions that I make now. I didn't have boundaries as a person as well. And then even if I knew my boundaries, I'd be scared to, express that, listen, I'm not comfortable with this. And, I was just pretty yes person because I didn't want no problems. Just that person to say, I just don't want problems. I couldn't be tired, baby. So now I'm like, with age, to be honest, you stop caring about a lot of things because you have more focus and less time to dedicate to things that don't add value to your life. So naturally, I feel like that comes with age. If you allow it to, if you are doing your healing, if you want to grow, then there's no way. When you look back at your past self, like I always think, man, that. Hi, I am Empress Lusiche. I'm a bass player, now getting into singing and songwriting. I've been an onstage live musician up until this point. So, yeah, that's pretty much who I am. And I speak. I'm a speaker. Yeah. So, my creative progression, it started when I was much younger. When I was a kid, I used to innocently sing, but I didn't feel like I was going to be a singer. And then I got into bass guitar pretty early on and have played that for most of my life. Even if I've taken breaks, I've always gone back to the bass guitar. And then the transition into me singing and songwriting, or getting into that path, has been, I used to sing background vocals while playing at the same time. So that's when I started exercising my voice, and then trying to build up to when I can hold my own song as well. So yeah, that's been the journey, and then here we are now. What got me into the bass was a very natural thing. I watched a music video, and there was this woman playing. There's a band called Cold Chamber, and I used to listen to a lot of like metal and rock when I was a kid. So they had a female bass player, and I thought that was just the coolest thing I'd ever seen. So then at that time, a lot of people were picking up guitar, and for me, I don't like things everyone's doing generally. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna try the bass. And I was like, I think the first bass student at my school. So then, naturally, that's how I got passion and became a bass player. We found each other. I grew up in Rongai years ago. I can't even. Yeah, so I grew up in that area, and I have come from a family of 6. So I'm the third born out of 6 kids. So yeah, 5 girls and 1 boy. My brother, he goes through a lot. Having so many sisters. Yeah, so I grew up in a lot of places. Like in my upbringing, I got to stay in different countries because of my dad's profession at that time. So it was a pretty cool experience seeing the world, Africa, at such a young age. So yeah, that's pretty much how I grew up. Growing up, I think the most interesting thing for me was the traveling and just getting to, like different cultures, and just being in boarding school and living with strangers, and just that bonding experience with my sisters as well, like, because we were discovering the world together. So that made us like really close, because my mom was always like, you people have to always stay close to each other. So it helped with that, as you grow up, you sometimes tend to drift apart, but for us, traveling kept that bond. And yeah, being in boarding school was pretty nice because, also just living with strangers and finding a bond. I went to Brookhouse at a time, but it wasn't as Brookhousey. But I went to Brookhouse for about 9 years of my life, and it shaped me definitely as an individual. I learned, inspiration I definitely drew from my environment. We had a pretty good art team, pretty good musical, the teachers were pretty brilliant. So there was a lot of encouragement to, pursue what you want, if it's sports, if it's music, if it's whatever creative endeavor. Those are good support systems. So it really shaped me into even being more of an individual. It was more like we had these concerts that used to be organized by the school. So the choir would work towards everyone is just working together. So there'd be a band and there'd be the choir. Sorry. So that's how I got involved into the arts, because then you even learn pieces throughout the year that you get to perform at the end of the year. So that was a pretty motivating factor, knowing that you're gonna get to express what you've learned throughout the year. So that was pretty much the only organized thing that I used to do. I tried to play soccer. I wasn't bad, but then I just happened to find the bass, and then I just stopped going for soccer stuff. Oh, sorry, and there was orchestra as well. I tried as well with the orchestra, and I played the clarinet. I tried. I didn't really sing that time much. I just did it once at a talent show. I think I was about 12 or 13, something, and somebody was doing a guitar piece and he wanted me to sing over it, and I don't know why he chose me, but my music teacher is you go and do this thing. So that was the first time I sang, and it was the scariest thing, because it's from someone who sings in private to just being put in front of kids in a school hall. My God, it was very challenging. And I remember after I didn't sing for a long time after that. After high school, I was keen to get into the industry. So at that time, I remember Achengabura had seen us playing somewhere, me and my friends. So we had a show with her straight after high school. So I was pretty psyched. I was like, this is what I'm going to do forever. And then my parents, for them, they wanted me to go get an education elsewhere. So I decided to go to South Africa and studied human resource management. Yes, I studied it, but I did not complete it. But that was my first degree. And then after that, I kind of, situations changed. And so I started working more than schooling. I enjoyed some parts of it. I just, school it's challenging, the right word. I've always, there's some things sway me along the way, then I have to take a break and just recuperate. So there's been different stages where I've not been able to go to school, so I had to find another thing, another way to, still make it in life. So that the thing that I had was my talent. So I started working on that. And then I used to work in the restaurant industry, actually. At first I was a waitress and just, general service industry stuff. And, I just built my way up from there. It was a pretty cool experience, actually, working in the restaurant industry. It really opened me up as a person, because then you meet all different kinds of people every day. And some you'll vibe with, some you won't, but just that interaction is something. I was just thrown into the world, because I'm not a very social person, but I had to learn how to be. So that was cool. Yeah. Um, I mean, singing is a really natural thing, like a lot of people, even when you're doing your work, like, even if you're not a singer. So I feel like when you're a child and you still have that innocence and, your self-esteem is still intact, then you tend to sing. And it might not be what you want to do when you grow up, but you're singing. So I think that comes naturally. And then the creativity part of it, I would listen to like how musicians control their voices and all of that. I used to listen to a lot of Lauryn Hill when I was a kid, and I was like, she's singing and she's rapping and she's playing the guitar, and that just made me more interested in that, because I found it very cool, just singing and playing. So yeah, there's many creative inputs that, as a child, that you get into. Anything influences you. Like if I see a cool music video, then I'll be like, who's that? Then I'll go and research and like get influence from that. From the Fugees, you'll be ready or not, here I come, you can hide. That song was dope. My big sister introduced it to me when I was really young. It's like, I play my enemies like a game of chess where I rest. No stress if you don't smoke cess. Less, I must confess my destiny. Lauryn is dope. And then for Lauryn, that would be Turn Your Lights Down Low. I really listen to that song a lot. So those are the songs that I started off with before I just dove into her music completely. Yeah, those music that I was vibing to, it wasn't deep. I didn't really pay attention. Okay, yeah, I still knew good music. I used to listen to Kleptomaniacs and Issa, and then I used to listen to there's this lady. Yeah, I tried to listen to Kenyan music, but then yeah, pretty much that's what I can remember. And Sanepe Tande and Nazizi, Necessary Noise. Yeah, that should have been the first thing I said, because that had a big impact in my life. Them three, yeah. It really depends on my company. I am very... some people would consider me introverted, but it's just like I protect my peace a lot. I don't like talking when it's unnecessary, unless now I'm around the right people, then you'll see my full personality. So with most of the world, I'm very to myself, and I really enjoy it that way, because I have a lot of fun on my own. But yeah, if I have my solid crew there, then you'll see another person. It's the energy that matters. So it's not like I'm matching the energy. It's just I keep my own energy constant. So regardless of which space I'm in, what I receive will kind of dictate how I respond to it. So sometimes I'll just choose quietness. I don't feel like contributing to conversations, and then when the energy is right and this person is like, you're reasoning and you're having a conversation that makes sense, then you'll see my extroverted side, because we're talking about something that makes sense to me. Yeah. Definitely when I started playing the clarinet, because before that, I think I started playing clarinet when I was 9 or 10. So, but before that, I used to listen to a lot of music. Just generally, I would have a sharp ear and I'd memorize things really quickly. And I knew I was interested in this music, but I didn't know in which way, it would go. So then my mom got me to play clarinet. And then from there on, I just kept discovering myself. I didn't stick with it for as long as I should have. I did do it for a couple of years, and then from there on, it was already charged. Like we were moving already. Like I'm already getting this. This is my passion. I am feeling this. And then when I met the bass, because I used to pretend to play the bass a lot, because I used to find it in the music room. And yeah, me and my friend would go there and we'd jam, and we don't know what we're playing, but it doesn't matter. We just pretend. So I'm just there, and I'd hold this bass, and I'd just wish I wanted to play it. I just wanted to play it so bad. And then when I did, I knew I loved it. And I knew I wanted to do music forever. You know, at the beginning of it, just gotten support from different sources in the journey. So when I came back to Kenya, I had good support system in high school. Then I came out and meeting people like Achinga Bura, and there's Lydia as well. And they used to tell me like, you know, this bass, I need to take it seriously, and then I can do something with it. So they gave me a lot of, you know, fire from that. And then when I came back to Kenya and getting back into the industry, I got really fired up by June Gashuri, because she saw me playing at this show that Manasseh Ozele organizes. So she saw me and she was like, you know, wanted to put an all-female band together. And so she called me a couple of maybe months or weeks later, I'm not sure, and I met other female instrumentalists, and that added even more fire. It was really exciting. It was very nerve-wracking, and it really reflected as well in my music at that time. But still, the support that I got, it's like, don't stop practicing, don't stop going. So yeah, so at different points in my life, I've definitely had just support from whoever's there. If they see my gift, they pour into it. Yeah, and Kasiva Mutua as well. It really fires me up as a musician, as an instrumentalist. I appreciate that journey. When I see people succeed and do it the way it's supposed to be done, that's pretty cool. My first experience as a band was when I was a kid already, maybe when I was 15 or 16, and it was extremely exciting because we were like, wait guys, we're the ones making this music, and like I'm playing the drums, I'm playing the guitar. It was just cool, and we used to make a lot of noise. It's cool, just a lot of noise. And yeah, so that was my first experience with a band. And then after I came back, I joined this band called the Flower Project. I have played with quite a few bands, starting from the one in high school. Then I joined another one. I was with the Flower Project for a couple of years. And then had a reggae band as well. Then I had a band that played hip hop and just things. Then I had a regular. So I realized, yeah, it does sometimes take a toll on me, especially if there's no mission or common vision. And then I don't know what I'm doing it for. And then also just like having to get used to new energies all the time is not something that sometimes I'm up for. So I prefer to have like a solid foundation with a couple of people as opposed to just switching all the time. I've not really played much like cover bands and stuff like that. I think I've only played for one band, and it was a really cool experience because, you know, I had to be challenged to learn new stuff all the time. So that was the cool bit. I like getting to know people that I work with, but at the same time, I feel like this is work. So like it's work. There's work and there's play. And so even if you meet different people, it shouldn't really impact you as much because I mean, if it's your mission, then it's an emotional thing. You're going to get emotionally invested in people. But it depends on the situation. I prefer to stay with just try to do the same. It's pretty easy to notice a female bass player, like regardless of what it's a woman and she has the bass and she's playing it. So it's visibility has never been an issue for me. In terms of I think sometimes bass players are just very laid back, and so I've seen that sometimes breeds this being overlooked, So, I mean, it happens sometimes, but I don't know. I think it's hard to overlook me unless you really want to. Straight. Yeah, man, but there's a tendency for you to feel overlooked when you're over there. And I've had bands where I've been the band leader and all of that stuff. I enjoy that. But, yeah, my role, you have to just know your place and you have to just know your throne. That's all I'm saying. As a person, I know I don't compromise on authenticity, I don't compromise on truth. I mean, it's human nature to behave the way humans behave, but I prefer to live in a vibration of truth. And then I don't compromise on real love either, I'd rather not have it at all if it's a temporary, passing thing. I'm just a big believer of love and a big believer of God. So what threatens that and my peace of mind as well is so valuable to me. My mental health is something like I really treasure. So I don't compromise when it comes to me. If it's gonna cost me my spirit or my health or just heartbreak, then this level of understanding myself to this point came with a lot of, they call it character development these days. So there's a sense of naivety that I had growing up. Didn't have a realistic view of the world because I hadn't really grasped what the world is like, what human nature is like, what just everything. So learning these at different levels, because every lesson just came at different times that now made me build up to, you have to be strong in this life. You have to have your armor, and you have to find a way to just operate that works for you. So for me, this works, just love works. And I was lacking, I feel, I was in a mentality of lack because I felt like if I am not appreciated or if I'm overlooked, then it's a reflection on myself. So that used to be a source of sadness for me, because I'm like, can no one see what's going on? Why do I have to do cartwheels to prove my worth? So it felt like a lifetime cycle of that I had to break. So I found self-love and I found God in that time. And when you have nothing, not necessarily nothing, but when everything trims down, when down to just literally what your reality is, then you start to see some things that you don't need in your life, and you see some things that you could need in your life, something that adds value. Or most of the time, it's a lot of trimming. Elimination is part of evolution. So when you start to see some of the struggles that you're carrying on are not your own and all of that, that really helped to heal me, because from a point where I'd be so empathic about so many things, and so many things that have nothing to do with me would really depress me as well. So just having that, knowing what's mine and what's not mine, and then that confidence that comes from getting yourself out of the dark, that really works, for me in my life, because I'm if I can survive that, then I just don't see why I can't forward this journey the way I'm supposed to, with my chin up. There's a thing that comes, there's a sense of real confidence when you drag yourself out of the mud straight. I promise. 5 years ago, I was still pretty naive. I wouldn't have made the same decisions that I make now. I didn't have boundaries as a person as well, And then even if I knew my boundaries, I'd be scared to, express that, listen, I'm not comfortable with this. And, I was pretty yes person because I didn't want no problems. Just that person say, I just don't want problems. I stuck in my tired, baby. So now I'm like, with age, to be honest, you stop caring about a lot of things. As in, that's a beautiful, yes, it's been beautiful because you have more focus and less time to dedicate to things that don't add value to your life. So naturally, I feel like that comes with age. If you allow it to, if you are doing your healing, if you want to grow, then there's no way. When you look back at your past self, like I always think, man, that girl was real stupid. And I feel like I was a total idiot because what I know now as a human being, then I value the person that I used to be. I get her journey. Big up, she survived. But at the same time, the decisions that woman made is not the decisions this woman would make right now. And I'm glad for it. Yeah, it's something to be proud of. You see, what are you made in the image of? To me, like, sometimes I'm rooting for the villains sometimes because I'm just like, I teach these guys. But at the same time, of course, I'll always root for the good. I'll always choose to see the light, Like I said, being made in God's image, being created in that image is already such a powerful thing. Like, it's something to be proud of. I'm not saying everyone believes in God or whatever, but like, I was taught that I'm created in the image of God. So how can I not be proud of myself? How can I not carry myself the way He intended me to carry? You just realizing that your worth doesn't come from external validation. It doesn't determine it. It makes you a much happier person in life because then you're not dependent on people's opinions to exist. It's like not everyone should be part of what you're trying to do. Like, you don't give away so much of your control. When you give out your control, your power, then you're left in a state of lack that now brings this sadness, brings this depression. Because what are you really in control of? If you're being controlled by opinions, if you're being controlled by the world, I don't even think the world knows where it's going. So how can you just follow it, So I find value in individuality. I mean, all of us have a calling and a purpose. And like, for each person that steps into their purpose, the vibration of the universe, like, automatically it raises. So when you decide to focus on your purpose, there's a lot of wealth, a lot of wisdom that comes from that. I'm not talking about physical wealth. I'm talking about like spiritual wealth and your heart. That, for me, makes me look at life much simpler, and I don't stress about much because I'm just focused on my purpose. And the sooner you get to walk in it, then the sooner you can be free. My worst experience was probably my mom's death. I mean, physically, because she's still there, but it was quite a huge loss at a young age. And, there's things you need a mother for, many, many things. So that was a tragic time of my life. And then the best times of my life have been when I literally can't count how many great shows I've had. That's where my happiness is and my peace is. Like, I don't really need much. I'm never just searching for what's next and what could excite me. Pretty simple person. So my exciting times, I'm on stage with people I love. Not tunafunga show, like the show is tight. That's gonna keep me high for a long time because that's what I love to do, and I'm around people I love. Best experiences, just watching live shows as well. Like, people I've always dreamed of seeing, and then I see them, and I'm like, okay, that's pretty cool. Life is nice. It's nice. Yeah, and as a musician, the heartbreaking parts are, there's a bond that you form musically with the people you work with a lot. So when that's separated or severed, that can cause a lot of depression and a lot of it throws you off. So yeah, some of my worst experiences have been as such, where I've had to, say goodbye, and sometimes goodbye hurts. I mean, if it's brave, but it hurts. So yeah, that's definitely one of my worst experiences. In my mental health, when it takes a knock, when it used to, because before I wasn't so self-aware, so I wouldn't realize when I'm really putting strain on myself because I felt like I didn't matter. So I wouldn't take care of myself. So I had a mental health break, where, I literally needed a break. It was a breakthrough, but just that experience of totally not putting myself first, that was not a good experience for me because I think the cost is not worth. I get inspiration from not just sad experiences, but just happiness. Like, love inspires me. When I overcome something and I really look at it as, I can put this in words. That inspires me. I don't even mind, at this point, when you get to a point of healing that you appreciate heartbreak enough, because not that you want it, not that it becomes your way of life, but then it becomes a source of now healing and, channeling what you need to. So my dream is to just always be near a studio in future. I just want to roll out of bed. Those ideas at midnight, because anytime, I can just be thinking about something and whoop, I just start writing a song. And then now it's just have so much written because there's just always content. There's always content. Even you are content. Yeah, depends how you use it. Use it for good. Definitely, I was very privileged to work with Achengabura. I mean, the older I get, the more I'm like, that was precious. I was humbled to work with June Gashui. I think she got the smarts, she's got the talents. So it was an honor working with her. And then because I also grew up listening to Nyashinsky, and I played one show with him, and I was just just, it was dope. It was dope, and he was just as dope as I expected. That was a really cool thing. And then I watched Freddie McGregor live. That was a really impactful show for my journey into reggae music. And Damien Marley live. I got to see, how it's done, That was, musically, those are the ones I can think of at this time. but just becoming and playing reggae music on stage, because I'd wanted to play reggae like since I was like 15. That's when I started like not just listening but wanting to know what's going on. So when I had a reggae band and I was playing reggae music and I'm playing the bass, and that was a big thing for my musical journey. Just big deal. Reggae has helped me to understand, not even understand, overstand so many things about life, not just in studying how it's made, but in the message. Clean. I rank reggae music real high. Yeah. Oh, well. I've performed in a couple of cool places. I think it's been so many cool shows, to be honest. With the remake movement, like the band I'm working with now, we did a show in the forest. It was called Misitu Raha. That was one of the best shows because it was like my first show after taking a while out of the industry, like taking a break. It was one of the first shows that I did, and it was just vibes. I really enjoyed that. I also enjoyed June Gashui's show. I know I've talked about June a lot, but she does cool stuff. There was this show, it was her album launch, and there were two bands. There was a guy band and the ladies band. And it hadn't been done before. And so much went into that production, just watching and seeing it come together. I think that's definitely rank one of the top shows that I've played. Top. As well as, I think the biggest crowd that I ever played for was when I was playing that one show with Nyashinsky, and that was just a very, just, I could see his angle as a superstar. I could see like what he sees when he's on stage, and I was just not overwhelmed, humbled. Me overwhelmed. Why? Humbled is the word I was. Yeah, there's been some pretty cool moments